In this video, we're going to take a look at crop rotation in vegetable gardens, why it's often a headache for gardeners, and an easy way to master it. So what is crop rotation? The vegetables we grow can be grouped into several plant families which have similar characteristics and often suffer from the same pests or diseases. Crop rotation is where we grow vegetables from each major plant family in different areas each year. Why do we do this? Firstly, because several problematic pests and diseases can build up in the soil if the plants they affect are grown in the same area each year. For example, nematodes such as eelworm can devastate potato crops grown in the same place year after year, but they also affect other vegetables in the same crop family, such as tomatoes. Onion rot is a serious fungal disease that can persist when crops from the allium group are continuously grown. Cabbage root maggots affect all brassica crops. Fusarium root rot can wreck pea and bean harvests. These are just a few of the many different soil-borne pests and diseases, and crop rotation is almost universally recommended to prevent them all. Secondly, different vegetables take different balances of nutrients from the soil, and their roots access different levels of the soil structure. Cabbage family plants like a lot of nitrogen. Tomatoes need plenty of calcium. Beets and beans require manganese, and so on. Many salad crops are shallow-rooted, but other vegetables like potatoes and sweet corn have roots that extend deep into the soil to bring up nutrients from those layers. Because of this, growing the same vegetable in the same place year after year can lead to nutrient deficiency and poor growth. Thirdly, some plants like potatoes act as a good clearing crop. That is, their dense foliage helps to suppress weed growth, and when they're dug up, birds can eat pests in the soil such as slugs and wireworm. Squash or leafy greens can also be used to suppress weed growth before growing a crop like onions or carrots, which are highly susceptible to competition from weeds. So, for all these reasons, it's clear that crop rotation is an essential part of growing annual vegetables well. However, just knowing that we should rotate crops doesn't make it easy to organise. After a few seasons, crop rotation can become very complex, even in relatively small gardens. The problem is that not only do you need to remember where each type of vegetable was planted in the past, but you also have to be able to correctly identify which plant family they belong to. Many textbooks suggest having one bed for cabbage family plants, one for beans, one for potatoes, etc., and then rotating them each year. However, few gardeners want to grow equal areas of each crop type, so this isn't always practical, and there are often additional constraints such as whether your climbing beans will cast shade over other plants. Other people recommend a very simplistic rotation plan of placing root vegetables, fruiting vegetables and leafy vegetables in different areas. But this roots, fruits and leaves system doesn't work well either. For example, it's not a good idea to grow tomatoes, a fruiting plant, after potatoes, a root crop, because both are in the same crop family and suffer from similar pests such as eelworm nematodes. This is where garden planning software can really come into its own. Rather than having to remember a complete planting history of which vegetables were grown where over the past 3 to 5 years and which crop family each vegetable belongs to, the system can take care of that for you. In our garden planner, each vegetable has an area around it which shows how much space it requires. The colour of this area indicates the crop family, and the information box buttons on the selection bar are also colour-coded, which makes it easy to remember which family each plant belongs to. When you come to plan the next year's garden, you start with your previous year's plan, click the New Plan button, and select to create a follow-on plan. This sets up the crop rotation history, remembering up to 5 seasons of crops. Now when you pick up a plant to place it, you'll get flashing red areas showing where to avoid planting based on the principles of crop rotation. For example, picking up this cabbage produces warnings showing where other crops from the brassica family, such as broccoli and cauliflower, were grown in previous years, so you can easily avoid those areas. Likewise, picking up tomatoes shows which areas to avoid planting them in based on where tomatoes, potatoes, peppers or other crops from the same family were previously grown. Because the system remembers where plants were for you, you get a lot more flexibility. If you want to grow more potatoes and beans this year, or grow squash with your cabbage, that's fine. The garden planner will remember where each crop was. The more years since you grew them, the fainter the red warnings. So if tomatoes were grown here 3 years ago, they'll only give a light flashing area compared to the potatoes that were grown here last year. This is like a visual indication of soil memory, and it makes it easy to choose the best location for crops, rearranging them until you achieve the perfect layout for your garden. In small gardens, you won't always have enough room to allow for a full 3 to 5 year rotation. In such situations, you'll still get many of the benefits of crop rotation if you avoid the most intense flashing areas and rotate on a shorter cycle. Also, it's common to grow perennials and sometimes herbs in their own bed as they don't move from year to year. If you want to take it to the next level, then you can look back at previous year's plans and follow a set rotation sequence. However, this isn't necessary, it's just an extra refinement to the system if you're very keen. There are many ways of organising this, but the easiest is to follow the colours of the rainbow from blues and greens through yellows to oranges and reds. Compost is added to the soil before blues and lilacs are planted, peas, beans and the onion family, which all like rich soil and are commonly planted together. Peas and beans add nitrogen to the soil, perfect for the brassica or cabbage family, which are grown the following year. Yellows, potatoes, tomatoes, peppers, etc., they come next. Oranges, root crops such as carrots and parsnips, are then grown after them, since they benefit from the looser soil left when the potatoes have been dug up. Finally, the salmon squash family and the pink beet and chard family are grown. Plants with grey backgrounds, which come from other crop families, can be fitted in anywhere as they are less prone to soil-borne disease. Just remember, this isn't a hard and fast rule. The most important thing is to grow your crops in different areas each year. Mastering crop rotation is the best preventative medicine you can give to your garden.